In southeast Kansas, just 1 mile north of the Oklahoma border, there is a small town called Coffeyville. Coffeyville was founded in 1869 by Colonel James A. Coffey. Coffeyville isn't like any regular town. It's a small town with big history. Some of the history is good and some of the history is not so good.
In Coffeyville since 1945 at the end of World War II. I was born and raised in Arkansas, and when my father got out of World War II, well, we came to Coffeyville because he had other family here. So, you know, you just make it home after a while.
Here in 1976, I was 12 years old, and the population at that time was over 20,000 people. And I think now the population is around 9,500 people. And I graduated, went to school here, graduated, I went to Coffeyville Community College, and so go Ravens, and go Field Kinley, because I work for the school district. So my family, my husband's from Topeka, and we moved up there, but we came back because we wanted to live in this area. We like the small town, rural life, and we like volunteering and doing things, and that's important to us.
Well, when we first came here, it was the only town west of the Mississippi that you could take a raw product from this area and make a finished product out of it. Yes, ma'am. And that's all gone now.
Tragedy struck on July 1st, 2007, when the town of Coffeyville was hit with a major flood that wiped out approximately a third of the town when a levee broke at the Verdigris River. The flood even topped the local refinery, causing 90,000 gallons of oil to pollute the water.
The town died in 2007 when the flood hit. It really did. Some people probably don't want to believe that, but...
I went through that too. I lost 2 homes, 2 16-passenger vans, a Buick convertible, and I had just bought one of the homes in 2005 and completely remodeled it, had all new furniture in it, and I was 6 blocks south of the refinery, and water stood 9.5 foot deep in my house, in my living room. The water was to the top of the levee, and the levee broke out behind the refinery, and where it broke, it just came a wall of water right down through the east side of Coffeyville and just wiped it out. The water ran as high inside of town as it did behind the levee.
2007, which took out about 450 houses and several businesses. And you can see the east side of Coffeyville looked more like a park now. A lot of the houses and buildings are gone, but there's been some of those buildings and people and businesses survived.
Coffeyville was an industrial town. We had 5 brick plants and 9 glass plants. Mason ball jars were made here. We're not just here, but other places. But we have the refinery and we have Acme Foundry, which has been around since 1905. And they still are going strong.
The industry leaving Coffeyville has been the demise of this town. We still have the refinery, we have John Deere, and that's basically the crux of our industry. We've got Jensen still down at the south end of town, but you know, they're not a big industry like they used to be. They used to employ 500 or 600 people, and if they've got 100 now, they're lucky. When Amazon was here, they were employing like 1,400 people, and they were busing them in from Tulsa and Joplin and everywhere around. All the small cities, they had a bus that ran every day to bring them in to work. And then all of a sudden they decided they needed to leave, so they went to Kansas City and built a big plant up there, and now they've closed it. Now go figure that out. When the industry started leaving, the people did too, and it has really took our schools down. It's took our city down. It's took our industries gone. You know, there's not much left. All we have now is just local merchants, you know, to keep the town surviving, and it's not doing a very good job. It's kind of gone downhill. In 1945, the population was 25,000. We had 66 churches in this town. We had a school in every neighborhood. Now we have one elementary school. There's nothing left, you know, and
Word to, like, you know, people were out driving around in their cars, and we actually had nice parks, and, you know, you've seen kids everywhere. You drive around here now, you see no kids playing outside, no one's at the park. I think Coffeyville's dying. I think that if we didn't have a college and the refinery, I think that the town would die.
However, there is one historical event as to why the town of Coffeyville will never die. In 1892, a group of outlaws called the Dalton Gang rode into town.
Lots of Daltons. The family had first moved to Coffeyville around 1880, and they lived here for a few years and moved away, then moved back about 1886, and they moved away down into Oklahoma about 1890 because Oklahoma wasn't a state yet, but they were giving away free land. So the family moved and ended up settling down by Kingfisher. I think there were 13 kids, boys, girls. Frank, one of the boys, was a U.S. Marshal and was killed in the line of duty at Fort Smith, Arkansas, trying to apprehend somebody. And at the time, his younger brother Bob, was with him, and Bob was a deputy marshal. So Bob saw his brother get killed. Grat, another brother, was also a deputy marshal. And for whatever reason, they decided, I guess the pay wasn't good enough to be lawmen, and they started rustling cattle and robbing things. And they ended up, people here in Coffeyville knew them. And I think that was what was amazing to me, was they knew who they were, but they came into town wearing fake disguises. And people realized pretty quick those were fake. And they split up, and 2 of them went into one bank and 3 went into another, and they tried to get the money. The whole raid took less than 12 minutes. And by the end of the raid, we had 4 townspeople dead who had defended the town, and 4 of the gang were dead. So it didn't take very long, but the idea is we don't want to glorify bank robbers coming to this town, but we want to glorify the fact that we had citizens who defended this town. And so the museum is actually the Dalton Defenders and Coffeyville History Museum.
I was wrong about the citizens of Coffeyville. When they realized that the Daltons were not just a rumor, they were ready to fight.
During the time of the Dalton raid in 1892, this was actually 2 separate buildings. And on this side, it was called Lang and Late Furniture. And the other side was Slauson Drug Store. And when the raid took place, the alley down here to the north, called Death Alley, that's where the Daltons came. They had tied their horses up down that alley and walked down here. And they went to this old Condon Bank building and another bank, the First National, which is no longer around. And after the raid took place, 4 of the gang members were dead, and 1 was severely wounded, Emmett Dalton. He had 23 bullet wounds. And they took him upstairs of this building, Slauson's Drug Store, and Dr. Wells' office was there, and that's where they treated him. So, and he survived. He went to prison for 15 years and then was pardoned. So it's kind of neat. Anybody that's interested in the Old West, it's kind of a must-see type situation. So you want to go see where the Dalton gang met their end.
If you would like more information about the town of Coffeyville, you can visit coffeyville.com.